The Galactic Council convened in the Great Hall, a vast chamber suspended in orbit around the Council's home planet. Representatives from 1,000 species gathered, their voices a harmonious cacophony of clicks, hums, and resonant tones. At the center stood the High Arbiter, an imposing figure with translucent, shimmering skin that refracted light into cascading rainbows. Silence fell as the Arbiter raised one elongated hand. "Esteemed representatives," the Arbiter began, their voice reverberating through the chamber. "We convene today to address a matter of galactic importance. The humans have begun saying, 'Hold my beer.'" A collective murmur rippled through the room. The phrase had been flagged in countless reports, its implications studied and debated. A Zatari analyst rose from their seat, their thin, crystalline body catching the light. "We have observed humans using this phrase as a precursor to highly irrational behavior," they explained, their voice sharp and analytical. "It is typically uttered before they engage in actions deemed suicidal by most rational beings." The Plentarch representative, a squat creature with leathery skin and a perpetually concerned expression, shifted nervously. "And yet," they interjected, "these actions often result in unexpected success. We have documented cases where humans, defying all logic, achieved the impossible after invoking this phrase. This cannot be coincidence." The Arbiter nodded gravely. "Indeed. Consider their history. When their homeworld faced an extinction-level asteroid threat, they detonated nuclear weapons to redirect its trajectory, a solution so reckless it defies comprehension. And yet, it worked." The chamber fell silent, the weight of humanity's audacity hanging in the air. A representative from the Arathians, a race known for their unflinching adherence to logic, stood next. "Their behavior is not only illogical but dangerous. They are unpredictable, a potential destabilizing force in our galaxy. We must consider sanctions." A voice from the back interrupted, deep and resonant. It belonged to the Xanther delegate, whose species valued strength and bravery. "Sanctions? Or admiration? Their actions may be reckless, but they reveal a strength of character we should study, not suppress. Humans are unique." The Arbiter raised their hand again to quiet the debate. This uniqueness is precisely what makes them both a threat and an asset. The phrase, "hold my beer," is not mere bravado. It represents a mindset, a willingness to embrace risk, to confront challenges with a boldness no other species exhibits. We must understand it. A display in the center of the chamber activated, showing footage from various human escapades. A pilot ejecting from a malfunctioning fighter craft, only to tether themselves back and manually override the controls. A team of engineers repairing a failing space station with scrap materials and sheer determination. The room watched in stunned silence as each act, though seemingly reckless, ended in success. "But what if they fail?" the Plentarch representative whispered, voicing what many were thinking. The Arbiter's gaze swept the room. "Failure is inevitable. But it is their willingness to risk failure, their unrelenting drive to try, that makes them formidable. The question is not whether we can stop them. It is whether we can survive what comes next." The chamber buzzed with subdued conversation as the Arbiter concluded, "Let this council issue a warning to all member species. When a human says, 'hold my beer,' brace yourselves. History has shown that chaos will follow, and the universe may never be the same." The cargo ship Dauntless Venture hovered uneasily near the edge of the Maelstrom Expanse, a deadly space anomaly infamous for its gravitational distortions and violent energy surges. The anomaly had claimed dozens of vessels over centuries, each loss a grim reminder of its reputation as a no-go zone. Despite this, the Dauntless Venture found itself perilously close, engines sputtering, its crew staring out at the swirling chaos with grim determination. Captain Lynn Riker leaned back in her chair, chewing on the end of a stylus. "We're dead in the water, people. Nearest rescue is 6 days out. We have 3 days of air." She tossed the stylus onto the console, the clatter echoing in the tense silence. "Suggestions?" The crew exchanged nervous glances. Jenna, the ship's lead engineer, finally broke the silence. "If we reconfigure the graviton emitters, We might create a stabilizing field strong enough to punch through the anomaly. Her voice carried a mix of confidence and desperation. It's risky, but it could work. Risky is underselling it, the navigator muttered. One miscalculation, and we'll be torn apart. Better than suffocating, Jenna shot back, crossing her arms. Besides, humans are good at beating the odds. From the back of the room, Connor, the youngest crew member, grinned and raised a bottle of near-flat beer he'd smuggled aboard. "Hold my beer," he said with mock bravado, earning groans from the crew. Captain Riker's lips twitched into a smile. "All right, Connor. Let's see if that attitude can save our skins." She turned to Jenna. "You've got 2 hours to make this work." The next 2 hours were a blur of frantic activity. Jenna led the crew in dismantling parts of the ship's already strained systems, repurposing components into something resembling the stabilizing array she'd theorized. Duct tape, spare wiring, and raw ingenuity became their tools of survival. Every step was met with setbacks: an overloaded circuit here, a misaligned emitter there, but they pressed on. Connor worked alongside Jenna, his hands steady despite the gravity of the situation. "You ever think we're too good at improvising?" he asked, tightening a bolt. "Like, maybe we're the galaxy's equivalent of playing chicken with a supernova?" Jenna snorted. "If it works, I don't care how stupid it looks." Finally, the array was ready. The makeshift device hummed to life, a faint blue glow emanating from its core. Jenna wiped sweat from her brow, her expression a mix of triumph and exhaustion. "It's not pretty, but it should hold." Captain Riker took her seat, gripping the armrests tightly. "All right, people, strap in. This is going to be rough." As the ship edged into the maelstrom expanse, the stabilizing field flickered and wavered, barely holding against the onslaught of gravitational waves. The dauntless Venture groaned under the strain, its hull protesting with ominous creaks. Alarms blared, warning of imminent structural failure. "Fields destabilizing." Jenna shouted over the noise. "We're losing power to the emitters." "Divert everything we've got," Riker ordered. "Life support, comms, whatever it takes." The lights dimmed as power was rerouted, the crew bathed in the eerie blue glow of the anomaly. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment, it seemed they wouldn't make it. Then, with a final surge of energy, the dauntless Venture broke through the maelstrom's edge, emerging into calm space. Cheers erupted from the crew, relief flooding the cramped cabin. Connor held up his empty beer bottle, grinning ear to ear. "Told you it'd work." Riker shook her head, a rare smile gracing her face. "Remind me to put reckless optimism in the job description next time." As the crew celebrated, the ship's sensors beeped, drawing their attention to a startling discovery: the data they'd collected during their passage through the anomaly. Readings of gravitational flux, energy patterns, and potential navigation routes. Information that could revolutionize space travel and turn the maelstrom expanse from a death trap into an invaluable resource. Jenna stared at the console, disbelief etched across her face. This changes everything. Do you realize what we've just done?" Connor leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smirk on his face.
"Yeah.
We proved that sometimes all you need is a crazy idea and a little faith in duct tape." The dauntless Venture limped toward the nearest outpost, battered but victorious. Unbeknownst to them, their daring maneuver had been observed by a Plentarch trading vessel, its crew broadcasting the incident to the Galactic Council. The footage would soon spark heated debates across the galaxy about the audacity of humans and the undeniable brilliance hidden within their recklessness. The Galactic Council's chamber was abuzz as the footage from the maelstrom expanse played across the central display. Every representative watched in stunned silence, their attention fixed on the battered human ship navigating what should have been certain death. The recording ended with the dauntless Venture emerging intact, carrying valuable data and leaving behind a ripple of disbelief. The Za'Tari analyst, whose crystalline form shimmered faintly, was the first to break the silence. "This defies logic. By all calculations, the humans should have been annihilated. Their ship was woefully under-equipped. Their equipment was primitive at best. And yet, they trailed off, their voice edged with reluctant admiration. They succeeded. A Plentarch diplomat shifted uneasily in their seat, their wide, expressive eyes betraying a mix of awe and fear. "It's not the first time," they said. "We've seen this pattern before. When faced with insurmountable odds, humans display an alarming capacity for improvisation. It is as if chaos fuels their creativity." The Erathian representative, ever the voice of reason, tapped their long, slender fingers on the table. This incident raises a critical question. Are humans merely lucky, or is there something about their psychology that allows them to thrive where others fail? Should we be studying their methods more closely? The Xanthar delegate let out a low, rumbling laugh, their deep voice cutting through the room. Methods? They have no methods. What they have is raw courage, a willingness to leap into the abyss with nothing but blind faith and stubborn determination. That's not something you can replicate. Perhaps not, the Za'Tari countered, their tone sharp, but it makes them dangerously unpredictable. A species that sees no distinction between risk and opportunity cannot be trusted. The Arbiter raised their hand, signaling for order. "Enough," they said, their voice calm but commanding. "We are not here to debate trustworthiness. The issue at hand is how humanity's actions are reshaping the galaxy's perception of them." Their reputation grows with each of these incidents. A holographic map appeared in the center of the chamber, highlighting regions where humans had made significant impacts, trade routes established through treacherous space, alliances formed in unlikely circumstances, technologies improvised from rudimentary beginnings. The map painted a picture of a species rapidly expanding its influence, often through unconventional means. The Plentarch diplomat leaned forward, their tone hesitant. Other species are beginning to take notice. Some view the humans as pioneers, willing to go where none would dare. Others see them as reckless, a potential threat to stability. Either way, their actions are impossible to ignore. Impossible to ignore, the Arbiter echoed, their voice heavy with meaning. And impossible to predict. This latest incident has already sparked discussions among several member species. Some wish to emulate their boldness, to push boundaries as the humans do. Others warn that such attempts would lead to disaster. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The Erathian representative spoke next, their tone measured. The phrase they use, "hold my beer," has become a cultural shorthand for their defiance of caution. It encapsulates their willingness to act first and calculate later. It is both their greatest strength and their greatest weakness. The Xanthar delegate chuckled again, their amusement undiminished. Weakness? Perhaps. But consider this. In the vast history of the galaxy, how many species have achieved what they have in such a short time? Weakness does not breed success. A holographic image of the dauntless venture appeared, highlighting the data it had retrieved from the Maelstrom expanse. The Erathian pointed to it, their voice tinged with grudging respect. And yet, here we are, benefiting from their audacity. The data they recovered could revolutionize navigation and energy systems. We cannot dismiss their contributions, however unorthodox their methods may be. The Plentarch diplomat sighed, their leathery face wrinkling further. But at what cost? Their successes come with risks that could easily spiral into catastrophe. One mistake, one failure, and we could all suffer the consequences. The Arbiter considered this, their gaze sweeping the assembly. "It is a delicate balance," they said finally. "Humanity's recklessness is a double-edged sword. For now, we must monitor them closely and seek to understand the factors that drive their behavior. Perhaps their actions, however unpredictable, hold lessons for us all." As the session drew to a close, a sense of unease lingered in the chamber. Humanity's actions were impossible to categorize, defying the galaxy's long-held norms. They were a species that embraced the impossible, that thrived in chaos, that turned phrases like "hold my beer" into rallying cries of ingenuity and courage. The Galactic Council left the meeting with more questions than answers, their thoughts divided. To some, humanity was a marvel of adaptability, a force of nature that could push the boundaries of what was possible. To others, they were a dangerous anomaly, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And yet, even the most skeptical among them couldn't deny the truth. the galaxy would never be the same again.